What is up, guys? Welcome back to Fightful Overbooked today, where we are here once again with another interview. Today, we are here with the PWA World Champion, Jessica Troy. How are you doing today, Jessica?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. And you're coming up on landmark title defense. You're closing in on 250 days as champion.
Am
How are
I
you feeling?
really?
Well, you're about 225, but 250 is kind
Whoa,
of the next big milestone. So I
that's
rounded
so
up a little.
fast. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's so fast.
How and well, in general, how are you feeling around now in this title reign?
uh, Pretty good, to be honest. It's pretty special to be entrusted with the PWA Heavyweight Championship, and I'm really excited to get in the ring with Delta again. So we have our King of the Metro on the 14th of June. Delta and I haven't got to have a singles in Sydney before, so we've wrestled lots in Melbourne, but I'm excited to see what we can do in front of my hometown crowd.
And I was going to ask you about that match with Delta. Obviously, Delta has got just so much traction behind her now. Obviously, coming off those Australian tryouts with WWE. How are you feeling going into this match? Do you feel like this is going to be your last match with Delta for quite a while? It is a bit of a bittersweet moment for you.
Yeah, it is definitely giving off that kind of vibe. I'm really excited for it because she's just also the best person ever. So I'm happy to see any kind of success she can get anywhere. It warms my heart. And she's also really fun to be in the ring with. So I'm gonna miss that, but I'm also really excited to see what we can pull off in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
But it will be a bit of a bittersweet moment, yeah.
And
hopefully she doesn't beat me up too bad either.
And obviously, two women fighting for the championship. What does it mean to you? You're not just only the women's champion, you're PWA's world's champion, intergender, you're facing everyone. What does that mean to you, that extra step? Obviously, being women's world champion versus being just playing out world's heavyweight champion.
I've kind of treated it the same as anything else I would treat it. Like at PWA especially, we're not like women's wrestlers. Well, if we were, I'd need it to be also men's wrestling as well.
Yeah.
We're just wrestlers here, which is well, I think it should be anyway.
Yeah.
So I treated it as just another title shot for me, and this is just another title reign for me. I try not to look too deep into the gender because I love to represent women, obviously, because I am a female, but I also just want to represent myself. And I, being like the first ever women's PWA heavyweight champion, I feel like all the pressure and all the representation is just put on my shoulders. I'm like, I have to represent my whole gender now. I'd rather just focus on me and show the world what I can do, just because I'm Jessica Troy. I'm not just a female. I am Jessica Troy, a wrestler. So that's how I see it anyway.
Completely fair. And I did mention coming up on 225-ish days as champion now.
I believe you. We'll say that.
Obviously, the Delta match is a big one, but is there anything before this match that's coming up that's really stood out to you so far in your reign as your landmark moment, other than winning the title, of course?
Yeah, winning the title was probably a really special moment for me. We got to do it at our PWA Coliseum weekend. So I went up against Ricky South in the main event on the first night. And obviously I won, which was nice. Then we had a bunch of people come out and celebrate. They lifted me up on their shoulders. So that was just a really special moment. And then I got to have a title defense against Cherry Stevens as well, which is one of the new up-and-coming wrestlers from Australia. I got to do a title defense against both of the Velocities, so Jude London and Paris Da Silva. So 2-for-1 deal right there. That was pretty special. But I am really looking forward to going back to the Metro Theatre in Sydney, because it's just, we've been there once before and it had such a cool vibe. It's like right in the city. The atmosphere is really grunge and like kind of like band rock kind of vibe. So I'm looking forward to it again. And I feel like Delta's going to suit that a lot. I'm going to be looking like a hippie out there and she's going to be looking really cool. So be a cool clash of aesthetics out there in the ring.
I imagine so. And you have made your way over to the US for a couple of shows in recent years and so on. And I'm curious more, just because I do tend to ask this of any talent really who's kind of has their home base, but they occasionally go to the States as well. For you personally, what would you say, other than, of course, that genders don't seem to matter in Australia, apparently, according to you, But other than that, is there anything big that you've noticed with the Australian scene that you don't see in the US?
Yeah, there is actually. The main thing I've noticed is that Australian wrestling is such a cool mix of a bunch of different styles of wrestling, which you don't really get to see. I feel like the American Indies are known for being the American Indies, and then there's Japanese strong style. There's lucha libre in Mexico. There's British strong style, and like European wrestling. Whereas Australia takes a little bit from there, 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 and then we just have this crazy mesh of like these wrestlers that might be lucha based and do high flying or strong style wrestlers. But then you also get wrestlers that just do all of them all at once. So it's a really cool place to like, the diversity here is just like expanded. It's insane. It's also sadly a lot smaller. We don't really get recognized as much. It's harder because we're so far away from the rest of the world. Like when you look at us on the map, we're like so far away. And sometimes it feels like that online as well, where it's like, everyone come look at Australian wrestling. We're here. We're good. I promise.
And just like, there is so much Australian talent though. Like as much as you say it like that, it's a different world, but there is a number of talent who've managed to break through and have appeared in the States. Yourself, for example.
Absolutely.
You've got just the multiple names who have appeared in WWE. You've got Rhea, you've got Tennille Dashwood, who you wrestled recently enough as well, I believe. And then you've got Cassie Lee, you've got Jess McKay, you've got just so much talent. Is there any of those talent that really inspired you to kind of take wrestling to the next level?
Oh, all of them, especially seeing like, I think I talked about it recently, but seeing Tennille, because she was really the first Australian that I saw overseas make it to somewhere like WWE. And I was like, oh, that's legit. That's an opportunity. Like I could get there if I wanted that. So seeing that was really cool. And then also being able to work Rhea a few times over here before she went over and see all like the insane amount of success that she was able to get over there and is still achieving over there now. It makes you really proud. It's proud to be an Australian because you can see all the people's successes, and we have Grayson Waller over there who started at PWA. Like he started where we train, and he became a trainer, and now he's living over there full-time wrestling. It's just really cool to see that that's an option for people, and that's something to work towards.
And I do have to ask you about one match in particular, because I feel like one of my coworkers in particular would be very upset if I didn't ask you. But
I'm excited.
The Zack Sabre Jr. match, the one that kind of got away a little from you, is that one that you still want to revisit in the future?
I never wrestled him.
That's what I mean. Do you want to revisit in
I'd love to. Yeah, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. I was like, when did I wrestle him? When did
No, I just know that Zach has been in PWA quite a bit. I know there's been a little bit of hinting about you two possibly wrestling. So.
He did. He hinted at that, and I was at the cursing with my ear being like, is he saying my name? Is he saying he wants to wrestle me? Because I'll be there. It's very scary. I'm sure it'll twist my body in ways that's not meant to be twisted, but I'd love to do that. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers like since I've started watching wrestling as well. So that'd be a pretty cool full circle moment there.
And I do want to round back. You did mention obviously the Australian scene just taking stuff from everywhere, but recently as well. And I know I keep saying the words recently, but I'm going to keep saying it anyway. But you recently had a death match with Charlie Evans, who you mentioned earlier. Do you want to talk about that a little and what that experience was like?
I do, because I think I've said it on the podcast recently, but I don't think anyone told me that was going to be a death match. I think I was asked. I was asked because it was for Nui Pro, and that's where I started. So we have a pretty close relationship with Nui Pro. And they were messaging me, being like, oh, you're available this date. You'll work Charlie Evans. I think they said a hardcore. I think they told me it was a hardcore match. I was like, oh, that's easy. I'll do that. We've done that before. And it was advertised online as a death match. I was like, what? What? But if there was one person I'd do a death match with, it would be Charlie Evans. So now I can officially say I've done a death match with Charlie Evans, tick it off the list, and we'll see if I ever get that urge again. But currently I do not.
I can imagine so, all right.
They're scary. And we didn't even do anything. We didn't do light tubes or glass or anything.
No.
Actually, to be fair, I think our no disqualification, because we had a no disqualification match at PWA, that was probably more of a death match than our actual death match.
And I do want to kind of just round back to the tryouts a little, obviously, the recent ones. From your knowledge, is there anyone that did attend those tryouts that you think is someone, like, obviously right now there's not a lot of clarity on who's been signed, who hasn't, who's got attention, who hasn't. For you, other than Delta, who's got all this attention around her as well, is there anyone else that you know of that attended those tryouts that you'd really like to see to get that opportunity?
Oh, I just want to see more success for Australian wrestlers in general. Anyone that was there, I wish the best of times for them. I actually don't really know who was there.
Trust me, I'm still struggling to find that out as well.
I feel like it was very underground. Like, they posted a video and I was like, who is that? Who's that person? I've never seen them before. But it was cool to see anytime Australian wrestling gets highlighted and more people's names get onto mainstream outlets. I think it's just good news for us. So I'd be happy to see anyone get signed, and if that's what they want.
And someone who you've worked with a little bit over the years is Mr. Robbie Eagles, and he's someone who's very well known over here anyway as an Australian pro wrestler. Do you want to detail what that's been like working with Robbie over the years?
That is probably, any match I have with Robbie is the match I learned the most from, I find. And he works a style that meshes really well with me, I think. Like, I really appreciate how he builds the match and puts in all the work towards the spots to get an emotion from a crowd. I like what he does. I try to do that, not as well, but I really try to get his reactions from the crowd for me also. So anytime I get to work him, it's just a learning experience for me, because he's already a coach as well at PWA. So he has trained me for 10 years. And then getting in the ring is just a whole different learning curve, which is great. He does that for a lot of the wrestlers as well, like up and coming wrestlers. He'll put a match together with them on the show, on like an academy show, just to really test them and force them to move outside their comfort zone, basically.
And I've mentioned it a couple of times now how long your reign is getting at this point, but is there a landmark in the future? Is there an amount of days that you'll be champion where you look at it and go, all right, I think if I lose it now, I'll be happier? Has that just been a constant feeling for you since you won it?
Well, I'd like to keep it for as long as I can, because at the moment it's downstairs. It's on our shelves downstairs, and there's a few wrestlers living in this house, and a few of us have belts. And at the moment, it looks very even and very aesthetically pleasing with that belt there, that belt there, that belt there, that belt there. So if any of us lost it, it's going to be uneven, and that just doesn't work for me. So we're gonna need to either lose it all at the same time or never lose them.
That feels
that's my plan anyway.
That feels like the most dramatic, like, house sharing, story on the planet. Just imagine it popping up on like Reddit or something. My housemate lost her championship, and now nothing's even.
How random. And like, when people come to like work on their house, like a plumber or something, I'm like, what do they think? What do they think when they see these belts and like all these like PWA awards or like these other random wrestling props? We have a house plan. It's not a wrestling thing. Like, what must they think when they see all these random things?
And something that I've found that I do like to ask wrestlers about, especially with climates such as Australia's, that kind of heat is different to what, say, Americans in most states would feel, me in Ireland would feel, and so on. You have had the chance to wrestle in the States, like I said. So is it something that you notice when you go to maybe a less hotter climate where it's easier for you to keep your cardio up? Do you notice that when you go abroad, or is it just something that it's just natural to you?
I haven't noticed that when I'm in the ring. I think the only time I really notice it is maybe being backstage and it is really cold somewhere and it'll be really hard to warm myself up. But it gets pretty cold here in Sydney. Like, we're in winter right now, and it's like 15 degrees, which I don't know if that's cold for you or not, but that's absolutely freezing. That's like that's hell for me. Like, this is my fingers are falling off. It's too much. I might be exaggerating also. It might actually be 18 degrees. I don't know. So when I've wrestled in Chicago a few times, and one time it started snowing. And it doesn't snow many places over here. I've seen snow, but I was very excited to actually see it fall from the sky. And I was like, how am I going to get warm before my match? Like, obviously inside was heated and nice, but I'm like, how am I going to get warm and stay warm and not injure myself? But the hottest time I've ever been was probably in the States. I think it was a really hot place, and the aircon was broken or something. So it was like dangerously hot inside. And luckily that hasn't happened over here, because it can get pretty hot.
I can imagine that. I can imagine if there was no AC, there'd be an uprising in Australia.
Yeah, we wouldn't work well as a society. Yeah. We'd all quit our jobs and just go to the beach all day.
Not the worst life in the world.
Right? That sounds actually pretty good.
And I do want to go back to that match with Delta because it is such a big match for Australian wrestling in general. That, like you said before, it's going to be such a fun match for you. You've wrestled her before. What makes this match different other than it being kind of an unofficial swan song for Delta?
I think what makes it different is that it's my home promotion's title as well, like the PWA Heavyweight Championship that I worked so hard for. I started training at PWA maybe like 8 years ago or 10 years ago training. So it took me that long to get this. I'm not just going to let it go. So she's going to have to work really hard to do that. It's in front of my home audience as well, in my home city, in front of my mum. She'll probably be there as well. So that makes it pretty different.
Yeah. And I do have to ask as well, and I know I keep just going different topics on and off, but someone who's been getting a lot of coverage lately, and someone who I imagine reminds you a little bit of Delta, is Jordynne Grace. She's been on NXT. She's TNA Knockout Champion. You worked with her. You worked with her before. Is that a singles match that you really would like to do? PWA World Champion, TNA Knockouts Champion.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that. Anytime Jordan comes out to Australia, it's just the best time because we get to catch up and like see how each other are doing. And I swear every time she comes out, she has like this other like next level accomplishment that no one thought could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Like one time she was coming out and she was like 3 weeks out from her bodybuilding comp and she was looking like amazing. And then the next time she came out was right after the Royal Rumble. And I was like, how did that happen? Why were you there? That's amazing. So it's just, it's really cool to see people, I don't know, cringy to say, but like breaking down walls or opening doors, as they say, and doing stuff that no one else is doing. Like they're putting that trust into her. That's amazing. And it's so well deserved as well. So anytime she comes out here in the future, I'd love to wrestle her maybe at PWA. That sounds pretty fun. We could get behind that.
Absolutely. And I do have one or two more questions before I do let you go, Jessica. First of all, you've had a massive start to 2024, the first half of 2024. Much that reign has been this year. What are your goals for the back half of 2024?
My goals are to keep the PWA Heavyweight Championship and have just some absolute banger matches. I'd love to just go out there and just kill my time out there in the ring, just look like a beast and just go all out. That's my goal.
Very simple from the champ. And you said it time and time again, PWA is your home promotion. It means the world to you. For someone who is unfamiliar with the Australian scene, is unfamiliar from PWA, for you, what sets PWA apart from every other company in Australia?
I think the amount of representation that they put on the screen and in front of the crowd in the ring, it's really important, like to see most things represented in the ring, whether that's female presenting, males out there, diversity, different cultures. That's really important. And I think PWA are kind of leading the charge in that, right? Still could be better. It could always be better. But I think it's something that all promotions around the world need to be working on anyway. So that's really important to me, getting as many different people out there as we can. That's
true. And one final question before I let you plug everything that you've got coming up. You can have one singles match in the rest of this year. Anyone you want in the world of wrestling. Who's it going to be?
Oh, you said one, and now I don't know.
Everyone gets.
We talked about Zack Sabre Jr. earlier. I'm like, maybe that one.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was okay. I'm gonna give you two.
Okay.
Because I can't. It would either be Zack Sabre Jr. because we talked about him earlier, or my favorite wrestler growing up, which is now Matt Sydal.
Yeah.
Either two of those, I'll be pretty happy with. I actually wouldn't be happy. I'd be too nervous. I'd combust or like convulse on the floor and just fall apart. But I'm sure it'll be fine.
And I said that was the last question, but now that you said that, how do you you're the face of one of, if not the biggest Australian wrestling company? Do you ever does the pressure of that ever get to you, or at all, or are you just tough it through kind of girl?
No, it gets to me every day. Every time I go out to the ring, I'm just a bundle of nerves.
Yeah.
I'm very much in wrestling and in my everyday life. My motto is fake it till you make it. And I've been faking it for 10 years. And I'm just trying to work myself out. And eventually I'll know what I'm doing. But that will be one day. Yeah. But my confidence and my persona is very much just me going out there and faking it till I make it. Which seems to work.
Yeah. You've been absolutely wonderful to talk to today, Jessica. Do you want to tell people where they can find you on social media, where you're going to be wrestling coming up, other than PWA, and of course that big match with Delta?
Perfect. So they can find me on Instagram at Jessica Troy Pro. Same username for Twitter, but you won't see me on Twitter very often unless there's something going down. What else am I on? Oh, you can follow my cats. I have a new kitten. Okay. And her Instagram is Solo Cicada.
That's amazing. That is right. Her full name is
Solo, but nickname Solo. She's the cutest cat you'll ever see, so please go follow her. And obviously you can see me coming up at PWA's King of the Metro, 14th of June in a couple of weeks. And then after that at PWA events at Mounties and Crowbar in Sydney.
Okay, guys, make sure to go check out Jessica. She's absolutely killing it over in Australia. I know she's a long way away from most people, but trust me, it is absolutely worth it to check her out. If you are new to Fightful Overbooked, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more interviews. Going to have a lot more coming up again. And yeah, thank you again, Jessica, for an awesome interview.
Awesome. Thank you.